back, all you four-color funny book aficionados. This is US Comics Cast, HQ for all things contagious and comic book related.
Contagious.
Hey now, I am John and I am trying desperately not to get Charlie sick.
That's true. And I'm the one that doesn't want to get sick, because being sick stinks. But John...
He wants to.
I want it real bad. Look at the way I'm dressed.
Happy Comic Book Day observed.
Happy Comic Book Day observed to you and to everyone listening and watching today. As always, we are brought to you by Bad Murray Band and Sergeant Finesse Gaming. If you haven't done so already, please hit that comment section like Martha's challenging you for your dominance. Now, I know...
Kaiju are no joke.
I know what some people simply must be thinking. They must be saying to themselves, Self, he doesn't feel well. Self, his code name is Showtime Johnny because he is so busy that they had to postpone the show. There's only one topic that I think would pull you out of sleepy time. There's only one topic that can get you in this condition. Still looking good. You got like the just this part of your face looks dynamite.
The ninja look.
It's kind of working for you, bro.
Storm Shadow made it happen.
Storm Shadow did make it. And that, of course, is a film not in English, not in color, and our seats didn't even recline.
Yo,
we are free.
And those tickets cost us like $100.
So much money we spent. We're talking about Godzilla -1 minus color.
Godzilla -1 minus color, which was the most clever follow-up to renaming a release.
It really was like the colorless cut. Was that like the other fucking shit option?
And truth be told, Charlie, I mean we can't really be blamed because we're just perfect. But with so much going on, we really slept on this big ass bottom of the ocean lizard.
I don't know if it counts as being slept on, because the day the movie came out, we were desperately trying to make our schedules work.
Yeah.
However, where our codependency truly shines is shit like this. It's not most of the Marvel movies. Some of the Marvel movies, yes. There are certain movies that it feels like cheating on our brotherhood. It feels like I'm doing our friendship a disservice.
To watch it separately.
And I'm tempted. I don't know if you were ever in like a shitty toxic relationship where like you wanted to watch a second episode of a show and then like you watched it anyway and then you lied about it.
Of course.
So many times am I tempted to be in a shitty brotherly relationship with you, and I refuse. Because we are... Now, I do want to bring this up. You weren't feeling well.
That's funny. Alex.
Today is probably the sickest you've been. I can make the show minus color. But I did not want to just pull the trigger on a gag.
Can you imagine? I sit down, I'm like, I'm fucking blind. Oh, Lord, have mercy.
I think some of the shit in our studio may have convinced you otherwise. But if you're like me when you're sick, I hone in on one thing.
I just start playing piano perfectly.
You being sick makes you Rain Man, then do you try to get sick? If being sick got you superpowers? If an atomic bomb would have wake you from your fucking slumber?
I mean, the current trend of like, okay, well, if you have something, if you have a shortcoming, potentially a challenge, and other ability, differently abled, like, but that means I can also fly to Egypt in like the blink of an eye. I might go.
You want a daredevil trade? Because like I will trade you my rhythm.
Let's be honest. Walking is for the birds.
It really is like for chumps. I like 4 walks a day, and they're all with Jameson, just because he's just having such a good time. But John, do you want us to be minus color? Or are you afraid people are going to think they got sick and died?
No. I think
Ellis, we'll do a special post show one day. I'll give you that black and white glory. Maybe
we'll re-release this episode, Ellis.
I will. Don't say that because I'll do that. Like I mean,
you never know.
Let's have that be our first Instagram show.
You want to mention the slightly different next week?
Yes. Next week, before we jump in, I love this. Before I even get to my thought, John got sick because of Godzilla's heat beam. Makes total sense.
Yeah, it totally is.
Next week, Showtime Johnny, not available Sunday. Not available Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Not available Saturday, and that means he's not available Friday. So I reached out, I pulled out the Rolodex, and we'll be joined by live from the Secret Stash co-host, employee of Kevin Smith himself, Christian Cortez will be joining us.
Movie maker extraordinaire.
The first episode ever that one of us won't be on. We have fought through.
Christian joined.
No, we've had people on the show, but both of us were on it.
Oh, I showed
you
up.
and I have been
in the dressing room
when,
for like 5 seconds.
Yes, that's true. When I was sick, we skipped a bunch of episodes.
Yeah, you poser.
When you were otherwise engaged, I was like, "Do you want me just to get a co-host?" And you told me to go fuck myself.
So I was like, "I guess I'll do the show by myself." I'm like,
I do everything else in my stupid life alone. But John, one thing I didn't have to do. So tune in next week. Really awesome episode. Christian's gonna be doing a movie pitch. I can tell you right now, it's gonna be ridiculous. It's Battlefield Nerf. He spoiled the title.
Nice.
He's gonna pitch Battlefield Nerf. We're gonna be talking about all things Kevin Smith. And we got another topic that's super secret right now because I haven't decided which of the three I want to roll with. But one thing I did not have to do alone, I didn't have to go to Jersey to get Christian to tag in. You and I saw Godzilla -1. And again, for a movie that for the lion's share of a month, we were desperate to see.
In color.
We kept hearing good things about. Ellis was losing his mind that we hadn't seen it yet.
So I don't know about the voices that are in your ear. I was told, which superlatives notwithstanding, when somebody's like the best Godzilla movie ever made, you have to just take things with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
Like, why can't you just say you really liked it?
That's a real Charlie move.
It is.
It is a Charlie move.
That's enough to solidify my desire to move things around to go see it. But that's what I was hearing. Best Godzilla movie ever made. And they said it straight face. I'm like, all right.
And at least for me, I find Godzilla fans almost identical to comic book fans, identical to pro wrestling fans. Sure. These fuckers find an aspect they like. They will find the one installment that they thought was peak.
Sure.
And then everything else not necessarily stinks by comparison, but one version gets put up on an idol.
Obviously, that's the Matthew Broderick, MSG.
The Jurassic Park style million velociraptors. You know what I love about that
version
one?
of Godzilla straight up showed up in the prequel trilogy. Like, is that Godzilla?
Yeah, the American Godzilla shows up in, I think, Final War, and fucking real Godzilla.
It's Final War.
Final War is one of the Toho Godzilla films,
gotcha.
And he gets, first of all, he's like the shittiest CG version of himself, and he gets fucked up. And what's awesome is there's a line where a guy's like, "Oh fuck, there's 2 Godzillas," and one of the soldiers is like, "That's not Godzilla. Stupid ass America thought that was Godzilla. That's some shitty monster. He sucks." Godzilla took him. Ellis, correct me if I'm wrong. I believe I might be superimposing this with a Kong. He took that the American Godzilla by the neck in Australia and flung him into a famous Australian building, and then atomic breathed his tits off. American Godzilla existed in Toho, and then will never fucking exist again.
No, my titties.
It would be the equivalent of if Ben Affleck took Christian Bale and made him bite a curb and just stomped on the back of his head. That was the ass whooping this American Godzilla got.
So American Godzilla is who?
Ben Affleck, the greatest Batman to ever hit cinema.
Now I know we're both sick. Holy shit!
I thought you'd appreciate that. I get nervous the minute someone starts praising something. I get
Charlie's the best.
actively.
Charlie's the greatest Charlie I've ever
Dare
seen.
you?
in my
How
life.
dare you? Yeah, the opera building. That's amazing. Um, John, were you nervous at all when you sat down, or did you get a sense like, or were you like instantly in the mindset of like, well, at bare minimum, this is gonna be good.
Here's the thing. So, I had two, kind of like red alerts going off walking into that building. Three.
The price of the tickets.
I had to
The
get
price of the popcorn.
had to get a personal loan to get something to eat and go see the flick. But then also as well as it was talked up greatly. And then as well, seeing it in black and white was like very nichey and very
Oh,
cool.
it
But
was.
then I thought, hold on. Then I thought, well, fuck. I hope it's not like one of those things where they just desaturate the color and like, here you go, because that's not really black and white. That's like watching something through a filter. And
yeah, but I have Instagram. I've seen this effect.
And the first fucking thing that happened was that I'm like, oh no, this looks great. This looks just like the black and white Godzilla flicks that I watch on like Sunday mornings.
Yeah, Godzilla riding his tail and shit
in Brooklyn. It looked right. It was like obviously full HD.
Yeah.
But it looked like it was filmed in black and white.
So let's start. Let's just rewind slightly, because when you sat down, that trepidation was only around the potential like CG wash filter that you were gonna get hit with. Was that like really it? Because otherwise you were like, man, bare minimum it's gonna be good. Movie got fucking re-released in black and white. It has to be a good sign.
No, I was worried that people talked it up too much, and it wasn't a short movie.
Yeah.
So I was like, fuck, man, if this is not what I hope it is, that would kind of blow chunks.
So for me, that's a perfect way of saying it. I had taken everyone's hype. I had put it through my filter of like, well, it's recency bias. Like Ellis, I love Ellis, but like, if you give Ellis a Godzilla movie every 6 months, I feel like he'll have a favorite Godzilla movie like every 12 months, you know? Cousin Paul.
What's up, Papa?
With that being said, mine wasn't about the time investment, because at least with popcorn. Mine wasn't about even the quality, because I feel like I saw enough posters to be like, if it kind of looks like that. For me, what kept resonating in my head was they were like, this is going to change movies because it was inexpensive. Like, this is the Clerks of Godzilla movies. Like, we fucking did it with a shaky cam and a dream. Yeah. The big takeaway I got from this film was confirmation that passion trumps money, passion trumps 30 talking heads putting together a film. This felt like such a fucking home run. It's undeniably good.
It was a Godzilla classic movie, right? If someone said to me, aside from the HD aspect of it all, this came out in 1974, I'm like, all right.
The one thing I would love is like, this is why I shouldn't have time travel, because I would take this film, replace the first Godzilla, and just watch people be like, they recorded a fucking giant monster. Because there was some, Godzilla, Ellis is bringing up it in the chat on Facebook, a great story with actual human emotions will always be better. Also, I feel like the humans of it all tends to be the Godzilla curse. Someone like me, when I sit down for a Godzilla movie,
you don't care about
I don't give up. It's so hard to get me to invest.
You sit there and you're like, oh, I wonder how Godzilla is going to wreck this bus full of people. I wonder how Godzilla is going to pop a couple of people in his mouth like peanut M&Ms. I wonder if Godzilla is going to like fucking punt the bus through the uprights of a Japanese building. No, absolutely. So this movie did not depend on didn't depend on like the fucking the shine of destruction.
Yeah.
Right? They're like, yeah, it'd be really cool having a giant lizard that's a result of the U.S. bombing us.
Yes, allegedly.
We bombed.
We don't prove
we
that.
definitely bombed them.
I don't believe that.
Oh, man.
Oppenheimer's a film.
You gotta stop.
USA! USA!
You need to get off YouTube immediately, bro. I did research. No, you didn't.
I do all my
Stupid.
research on X.
Ah, you fucking bovine idiot. Shut up.
I'm gonna get one of those installed CPUs in my
He's
brain.
like, I've got a 4-year degree from YouTube University. Shut up. Anyways, but that being said again, it was a human fucking story. And even more to the point, Charlie, this was a story where human life was precious. And I don't want to sound like I'm beating my own drum, but I clearly am.
Yeah.
I have been talking about this constantly, maybe since episode 1 of this podcast. For whatever reason, we have become, as an audience, as a society, as a people, as a country, so fucking jaded, and so and life is so cheap that for me it ends up taking it takes so much enjoyment out of this stuff. When Superman snapped Zod's neck, with only about 5 minutes left in the flick, I legitimately almost left. I was furious.
Yeah.
I was furious. And here's a flick.
And we lived in delusion for a while.
Where you have a giant I mean, is Godzilla a god? An ocean god? The only thing we really know is my man likes his fish, a little sushi action.
Yeah. Cooked. No, not sushi. He boils that shit.
Some sushi's cooked, Tron.
Oh.
But like one of the overarching stories happening in this flick is that life is precious, and sometimes doing the right thing without necessarily what's in it for me attitude ends up working out for you in the long run. To me, that's a better story than Godzilla fucking playing lineman and knocking down 3 buildings and like I said, throwing a fucking bus full of kids into the next county.
Well, what it does is it elevates itself almost, right? Because a Godzilla movie, despite their efforts, I think they've even with the American at bats, I think the goal is tell a human story by way of this monster. Until like the last Kong one, where they were just like, fuck yourself. Like the monster's just gonna slap shit.
Ding.
Yeah,
ding.
Exactly. Oh, rest. We'll talk about that before the show wraps. But John, again, the magic trick for me, is those humans being so well developed to tell the life is precious story without being so boring, preachy.
It wasn't preachy. It wasn't contrived.
No point does this film hold your hand. In fact, there is in the third act. You okay? More. Okay, I got worried for you for a second. I was about to get out your way. The film I thought was gonna do a trick the hero into learning a lesson move in its like final 10 minutes.
Gonna turn him into Rambo.
And in that final 10 minutes, they go, "No, we're smarter than you." Everyone is an active participant in their life, even when they're inactive. Because I don't want to give away the story. This is like a must-watch film.
They had, without exaggeration, I want to say, double-digit arcs. Character arcs.
Yes.
Everything from Godzilla itself,
fucking,
to the pilot, to the
neighbor,
chick, to the little kid, to the neighbor, to the fucking to the mechanic on the island. It was just, there was so
his co-workers, that's 3.
There was so much going.
They kind of pull a Jaws. The town itself in the second half of this film shows up like as a, first of all, magnificent work with visual storytelling, because you're able to differentiate every fucking body.
Right.
And they're all like dirty and fucking poor and trying to rebuild. They do one of the fucking best 3 years or so evolution of the city
The
of
time,
the
the time passing.
everything was an absolute well thought out on paper first,
I
and
wonder
then executed super well.
how long did they develop that flick before it began to film, and then after the fact, before it was released? Does anybody know
I'm sure
how
Ellis
long the
does.
process was?
I don't feel like it was long. Like, just by virtue, I think this is one of those situations where I just feel like, because I don't actually know if Yamazaki, I always butcher the pronunciation. I don't know if he was just the director or if he was one of the writers as well. But whoever put this on paper, this story has been in their head for a decade.
Sure,
Like,
of course.
there's no way. But before we dive a little bit into that, I want to talk about what about the budget helped it, what may have hurt it, what you thought about it. I want to talk about this in relations to, there's another Godzilla's coming back, the American Godzilla's like soon, and his Donkey Kong looking friend has a power glove. I want to talk about performances. I want to talk about the closed caption of it all, and I want to talk about the virtues of black and white versus color. But first, John, just because I don't want you to actually keel over, let's pay a couple of bills. And one thing that I really, really loved about Godzilla is something that we're losing touch with. Because of its relatively low budget, they did not have to have like Fritos corn chips in 7 out of 8 scenes. Like some of these podcasts will kind of fill you with all sorts of merchandise that they subconsciously want you to buy. We're not like those piece of shit pods, mainly because no one throws us tons of money. We take a little money from people we love. Today we are once again brought to you by one of our absolute favorite bands, and of course is Bad Mary. Heard them in the intro. You're going to hear and see them at the end of the show. If you're anywhere else, you can catch their act. You can follow them over at Bad Mary Band across all social media platforms. You can support them over on patreon.com/Bad Mary. You can stay up to date at badmary.com for merch and upcoming performances. But my favorite part, John, is their entire discography is available across all music streaming services.
Word up. And then you got to ask yourself where we dropping. As always, it is with Sergeant Finesse. Currently, you can find him streaming in the PM only on Facebook and or Kick, doing his thing. Currently, he's in New York with the General. She has an event for the this month's release, their cover party. So he's nice and cold right now. He got very, very used to the Florida warmth. Also, as well as check out Jokers_stream_ over on Twitch, doing that Fortnite thing like fucking way better than any non-9-year-old child has a right to do so. Great streamers, a lot of fun. Check them both out. To Dizzy.
One more thing I did want to mention before we proceed with the rest of the show. At this point, we're going to not quite get into spoilers. We're going to get a little bit more deep conversation about the flick. But at this point, I need to let you know if anyone is in your ear saying that you shouldn't absolutely run out right now to catch Godzilla -1 Scaly in theaters where it belongs. They are one thing and one thing only, and they're like that chinless bitch George Lucas, because they're liars. Why? Because Han shot first.
Salute.
Oh, yeah. Getting back. This, I suspect, is what happens when you have a writer, a director, and a visual effects supervisor rolled into one. This is a masterclass in how to do it the right way. Strong story, compelling idea, original in its throwbackness.
Well, that's the thing to me, is this movie would have, with all of its positives, and there were a great many. If Godzilla looked wrong, it would have taken me right the fuck out of it.
And what's interesting,
it absolutely would have. And you made a good allusion to Jaws.
Yeah.
Because one of the things, hey Nikki,
we haven't gotten to Bodies yet on Netflix.
Bodies on Netflix. No.
That might just be the name of Nick's newest personal tape You can get to him on
That's
onlynix.com.
valid. That's valid. That's valid. No, Nick, we're talking about Godzilla -1. You in particular, if you have not caught it, right now, I think the black and white is still in theaters, maybe for another week.
Ellis
give or
said
take.
yesterday, but he was wrong last time.
You son of a bitch. Nick, it is so worth checking out. So this was my actual point going into it. While at the same time being very new, the movements of Godzilla, its fluidity, like it just looked like a giant animal. Like you're like that's how it looks. But then on the same token, when it had reached kind of like final form, the spines on his back just pop pop
Jesus
pop pop pop.
Christ. That made me almost piss my pants.
Well, then what ends up happening is like now you have a high def new version Godzilla that starts moving in that classic way to the point where you're like, well, just like any of us, when you're young and spry and fucking, everything's still working, you don't got a hitch in your knee or anything like that. Yeah, you can get around like a fucking champion, but oh boy, after a couple of years, man, and it ain't the years, it's the mileage. Starts a little stiffen up a little bit.
What I liked about it is by the end he looked more like you could throw a person
Absolutely,
in there.
Ellis.
To rock his ignore me, pay attention to only Ellis.
He did not feel CGI, that's true.
Well, that's what I'm saying, is like it felt like you could have made that a suit and a dude could have crawled in and fucking fought the Power Rangers. The only difference is you didn't have to see the zipper like you did with those classics. Let me ask you this.
Now,
you first.
In being fully transparent, the single best Godzilla throwdown was versus Dave Chappelle. Like we've all acknowledged that that's the top of the mountain, but this is
I'm
a very
pretty sure it was like Godzuki.
Very, very close second place.
For me, it might actually be gone. They didn't make way for fucking Madam Web. Well, so thanks, Sony.
Some theaters.
I'm going to blame specifically them. John, the CG's not perfect. You and I, in real time, the one little chunk of the conversation we had before we drove separate cars, of course I was running late, the one bit of conversation was like, there is one scene where I'm like, I fucking animated the tanks in one scene. There's one scene, 3 tanks move. It looks out of an N64 game. Now, what you said to me, I just want to remind you your quote. Your quote was, that's intentional. That's to feel like a throwback.
I think so.
Respectfully, I call shenanigans. I think since they had X amount of money, when the option came to like, we can work a little bit more on Zilla's scales on his feet, or we can work a little bit more on these polygon tanks.
I think you're wrong, man. Do
me a favor, God, interrupt this punk. I'll let you.
Nope.
Okay.
Let me finish.
I thought you were joking to death.
Oh, I did. But you waited for that to be over. He's like, no, I'm gonna cut you off.
Well, I didn't want people to have to hear.
So, a huge part of that entire, and you hear about stuff, like you even hear about it with the unreleased Ghostbuster coming up, where they're like, oh, that's just like you're kowtowing to the fans and nostalgia and blah blah blah. Yeah, idiot. That's why I keep on going back to this restaurant.
Yeah,
because this restaurant makes food that I like. You fucking bovine cretin nothing.
Well,
that's what I want. So when they did something like having the fucking a toy tank, right, kind of like spinning, it just so throws you in that remember?
Yeah,
that fucking thing where you're like, yes, man, this is great. It was like a fucking time machine for me. And also they waited so long to have the music pop.
When it fully, well, they tease it. What I love is they really took us through all the bases. They gave us first base of the theme where it was just like bum bum, and he was like, oh god, it's gonna take out my dick. And then by the time it took out your dick, it was on. It was like Zilla made sweet love to us. John.
So whose dick was out? Yours or Zilla's?
Both. Little sword fight. Boy. He won. It also was like shunk. Like
that's a given.
Had a little spinal gimmick. My biggest takeaway from that film was from what I've seen, because I haven't seen the color version, I'm very excited. I'm praying that it's on the same Blu-ray.
I asked about the color version with friends of ours that that's what they were utilizing to like fucking insist that we go see it. They lost their fucking gourd over the color version, and I sat there watching. It was so good.
It was like hard to imagine.
I sat there. I was like, this has to be better.
You know what it
This
feels
must
like?
be better.
So when they filmed the original Brandon Lee Crow,
Yes,
they filmed it as black and white as legal. Like it was black and white almost. Like if you rewatch that film, they don't color correct it as much as they made sure everything was set up for kind of that black and white aesthetic. From what I've seen of Godzilla, and I would actually love Ellis's opinion, it feels like they were very muted in the color version because they wanted to kind of sell how, desperate kind of the world was. Because there's no real point in this film where you're looking at like a flowery meadow.
yeah,
So you can probably get away with it all.
You get a
being
couple
like,
of nuclear bombs dropped on your country. It's
gonna affect
you're not
you.
gonna have a normal Wednesday after the
So
fact.
for you, it was a direct time machine, right? For me, Ellis, I appreciate that the color version was gorgeous. Was it like vibrant? Is really more of my question, just because I know you have seen it at least a couple times. For me, it was less of a time machine directly, and more of a this is enhancing the throwback nature of it. Creed 3 kind of does a very, very does a very like anime vibe to the finale fight. And what they were going for was they were trying to invoke a feeling that I think -1 did masterfully, in as much as like they wanted it to feel like a classic film without feeling obligated to use cardboard buildings. Because even if those tanks were intentional, I don't think they were. I think
They were.
I think they're because of the budget. I think everywhere else, I think they did their absolute best. I think they did the best they could to spend every dollar wisely. Because Godzilla at points doesn't look perfect, but who gives a fuck? Once you're all in, right? You think about Endgame, which is the action movie that everyone rants and raves about. That movie visually has some ugly thing. I think the portal scene is an awesome scene.
Yeah,
that's not rendered well.
That's not a throwback to like.
Well, I'm not saying
the
it
last
is. I'm not saying it is. I'm saying it doesn't matter. What I'm saying is because I think you're congested, so it's kind of closing up your ears. I sincerely think that there are instances where what you're getting out of it can fight any battle, and I think this is proof. And I think other movies should take this hint. You can spend a little bit less if you have someone who really gives a fuck.
Well, but here's the thing too. Like, it begins, I think, on the page.
Of course.
So the execution, yeah, sure, that's fucking fantastic. And if you have something where, they don't have the financial wherewithal to do everything, that maybe they want to do on paper. Well, yeah, sure. Then you could start like, well, what if we did this, and what if we did that, and what if we did the other thing? But that doesn't take away from the necessity to having the source material be solid.
Yeah.
And it really just was. I can't remember another fucking kaiju movie where the focus was so much on the human elements.
When Godzilla destroys some shit, being vague on purpose. Specifically when Godzilla was wet and destroying specific shit.
Yeah.
I genuinely had a moment of terror.
Did you?
Which is so hard to do with a Godzilla film, because I'm pretty sure there's no Godzilla. Like, I'm pretty sure we're fine. And if it is, it's going to fuck up Tokyo first.
I don't know, buddy. Those pirates and stuff like that. Like
That's a very good point.
There were a lot of Kraken fucking...
That's a good point.
Water demon stories out there.
For me, though, I couldn't get over. There's this great... already popped up. There's this great moment where there's just something destroyed. And it's amazingly set up because it's exactly what you want. Someone goes, Godzilla's fucked now. This showed up. And then Godzilla's like, eat a dick, this, and like knots it into a pretzel.
That is a direct quote.
It's a quote. Godzilla, actually, it's his only line. Godzilla finally had a line. As we begin kind of the wind down.
That's correct, Ellis. That's correct. You don't
read that out.
You're not rooting for Godzilla. And that is one of those.
That's true.
That is one of those like it's a change of perspective, right? So as Godzilla was leveling up, like I'm like, oh, snappy nappy, here comes the fire breath, here comes. I don't think that this is going to be a spoiler per se, but I'm gonna do it anyway. If you want to be totally clean, plug up your holes. Godzilla's in effect mutant healing factor. Like I kind of sat back. I'm like, oh snap! That makes sense.
My God,
that makes sense. So you're gonna tell me a giant lizard story. You're gonna tell me a failure of a kamikaze story. You're gonna tell me a crazy chick, crazy neighbor, fun time, cleanup crew story.
I'd watch a series of movies of those boat guys.
I'm saying, like, they threw so much at you, and at no point did it feel overwhelming, and no point were you sitting back like, all right, enough of this, let's get to that. And certainly wasn't Godzilla going fucking apeshit. It was so well done.
When was the last time there was at minimum 5 characters in a movie that you were introduced to and all 5 you gave a fuck about? That's like, that is, I'm not literally asking, but like, that's special. I didn't give a fuck. I'm not picking on Marvel. Yes, but like, I didn't give a fuck about all the Avengers in the movie Avengers. Because
like you're evil.
It's not because I'm evil. It's because blonde eyebrows freak me out. For me though, I just love that we had an event film that wasn't Oppenheimer. In as much as, and I love Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer is
kind of a prequel.
Yeah, exact kind of. Oppenheimer is 10 megastars, like a 3.5-hour runtime, talked about for 2 years as it's being developed. Before anyone sees a trailer, they're like, it's gonna win some fucking awards. And then there's -1, and it's just like, what's this? Like, it's a Godzilla movie. What's it about? The fuck cares? It's a Godzilla movie. I heard so little, and again, I'm not tapped in the way someone like Ellis would be, but I'm also not tapped into movies the way that some people think I am. I don't care about production shit until kind of after the fact. I'm a read the book guy, like the visual history guide that gets put out after the movie. So for me, the fact that the minute I saw the trailer, I said, go fuck yourself. I'm in. The moment that happened, I don't know if that's been true for a film that hasn't been from Jump Street spoken about as like, oh, this is one of those films.
I'll tell you the reason why. It's a foreign film.
Mm.
Right, so this flick, in case anybody is still unaware, this film is in the original Japanese. Thankfully.
Not the new Japanese, the original Japanese.
Yeah, the original.
Classic
Japanese. Thankfully, they didn't dub it because I loathe dubbing, especially over material that I particularly like.
Potential spoiler alert for a future topic when we talk Zorro. There's some fucking Amazon has money, but none in their dubbing department. Jesus Christ.
Well, yeah. That'll be a different topic. But this fucking flick, and friend of the show and friend in real life, Sean Burbage, he makes it a point. He's like, I'm not gonna sit and watch a movie and have to read. I just won't do it. But my man Sean, you're missing out, dude. You're missing out because first and first, mostly, it's not a consistent monologue.
Yeah.
So it's not the people always speaking. It's not the people always spitting information and whatnot. Most of what happens is visual, and the acting is done in the face. The acting is done with interactions and everything like that. It's for the same reason that when somebody says, "Oh, check out this anime," and you watch it and it's dubbed, you're like, well, that's stunk on ice. Yeah, because you didn't watch it the way it was supposed to be.
Something gets lost in translation 100% of the time. The best dub, if you, I've watched entire series.
That's an oxymoron.
Ghost in the Shell, one of my favorite anime. I watched 90% of that dubbed, and I was having a good fucking time. And then the last season came out, and I wanted to watch it right away, and the only option was like closed caption in Japanese. John, I was mad at past me for enjoying it. Because, like, the Major alone, and I think the English actor who dubbed that character, I think did a great fucking job.
Mm-hmm.
But it was like comparing Jordan to everybody else. You're just like, oh, something was lost. And maybe what's lost is you don't just get the script. You don't just have a director kind of piecing shit together. Instead, what you have is the creation being built around a performance.
Yeah, no doubt.
You know, and Ellis brings up a good point. A really great dubbed movie, I don't know always as a rule, but some of them do work as silent films where you just throw up like placard cards and you could just have be like the dialogue written on the screen.
Look, if you guys are trying to straight up kill Sean, then maybe
hand him a script
maybe
and a clip light. Page 3.
Maybe that would fucking do it.
Was there anything about the presentation other than like our seats? I was really mad at that AMC theater. They really kind of fucked us. Was there anything that didn't surpass your expectations? Me personally, I had pretty high expectations. I think I went in nervous that like everyone was wrong. I don't know what they could have done. I don't know what they could have done to have me be like, like a sequel right away. Like they just roll another installment. Like now it's in the 80s. The baby grew up. Like I don't know what they could have fucking done. But for me, Jesus, it's very fucking hard to not put that in my like list of just bangers. It's just a out the gate classic.
Of course, he has to rank shit.
I specifically did
every time. We know what you were doing.
-1 though.
We know what you're doing.
-1 does get the Rocky effect though. The first Rocky film is clearly the best, but it's not my favorite. Like, so still I feel like for me, my favorite Godzilla is probably the Rocky 4 of Godzilla films. But, you know, we all have our flaws.
Yeah.
Mine's the music video that Puffy did.
So I guess my question to you would be, with the financial windfall, the profit margin that this flick had, because it was not a super expensive flick to make, but it was incredibly well received. They had two distributions within the same run, so they're pocketing yen hand over fist.
Yeah.
It's still a business, so you know they're gonna make a sequel in this style.
0, I guess.
Well, what would you like to see from it?
That's pretty good.
Thank you.
That's pretty good. You know, the human story now is annoyingly very, very important.
Of course.
So I think you almost need to find like the next Godzilla almost needs to be added to an already fucked situation. So maybe you just move it to the next war. What would be the next world-ish war?
Well, for us, it would be Korea.
So I think maybe you move it there. Because again, the temptation, I thought Ellis was suggesting like where they could go with it, because all I saw out of my corner of my eye was Mechagodzilla.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, Shin Godzilla is so goddamn good.
Mechagodzilla was ruined by fucking Ready Player One, so I don't want to talk about it.
You know, again, for me, this is also tough because my real answer, you go.
No, it's just
my real answer is I fully trust them. I hope they bring back the entire creative team. I hope they throw money at this guy. I kind of hope the budget doesn't go up. Like, give everybody back end points, and then like fucking, as stressful as it might be to make a movie like this scale with less money, again, more money, but not, don't feel the need to pump $1 billion
Well,
into
no,
this fucking flick. I think we learned a lesson. Let's remember it.
This movie was, let's make a classic Godzilla flick. So even if you handed this guy the bag, he's not gonna take it away from that design. So I don't think we really have to worry about that. And that's a rarity to say something like along those lines.
It's a beautiful thing, though.
So, but yeah, no, I think that oh, Ellis, that's a legitimately good point.
Yeah, I don't want to share that just because
that's
it's
a little bit
spoilery.
of a spoiler. But no, yeah, I think that, and you don't do the superhero thing where you're like, now there's 10 kaiju.
Yeah.
No, you take one, you add one to the fucking fun, and but again, the human element, the human story has to be paramount.
I want to just ask you this because I don't want to steal your question. Obviously, feel free to answer your own question if you wanted to.
Uh-huh.
More important to me, though, than what you kind of want to see out of a sequel, do you want in this universe there to be more monsters? Do you feel like the natural progression is always monster v monster? It can never stay monster v people?
No, not
Because
necessarily.
what's very funny is, like, in my head, part of me was like, Zilla versus the world, baby. Like, I almost don't need another kaiju.
I do.
Do you have a specific... Let me ask you that, then. Who would you want to see in the sequel?
Rodan.
Oh, fuck yeah, dude. That was, like, locked and loaded. That was locked and loaded. I love that.
Fucking yes.
Do you want them to keep the humans? Like, do you want this to be a direct
Absolutely
sequel? So we have a relative...
The only thing that I don't want is, like, oh, the kid becomes, like, a fucking...
Scientist?
A scientist that happens to be working... I'm like, shut up, stop.
You know what I wouldn't mind if, like, if the kid becomes obsessed with Godzilla. So, like, if Godzilla, like, doesn't pop up for 20 years, this bitch is doing research on all the quasi-sightings.
Becomes, like, a Godzilla groupie.
Like, writes a book. I kind of like when they do that. When they're like, hey!
When are you going back to Florida, bro? Yeah, I'm sick.
Yeah, he doesn't want to make me sick.
I'm trying not to get Charlie sicko, because God, I'll never stop hearing about it.
My God, he will have to fucking be bad. It'll be bad. John, let me...
You're back in Florida already? Well,
he just
the
hates the cold.
Sarge Finesse.
This just stopped being a show. You're just chatting with your pal now.
Oh, yeah. Exactly.
Only I get to chat with my pal because he's talking about Godzilla.
Fair enough.
The door that this opens is scary because there's going to be a bunch of people that want now throwbacks.
Why is that scary? That's a good thing.
Because that's like, they fucking blow it every time. Traditionally, we open the door to a brave new world, and then someone's like, I know how to just make money. Here's the worst version. What old school type flick would you want to get another bite at mainstream? It can be very, very specific. I'll give you mine.
Do that.
Let's fucking get Critters off and popping again.
The
little alien furballs, bro.
The toilet monsters that bite your balls when you sit down.
You're telling me for $10 million they can't make a fucking banger
of course
Critters flick?
Of course they can.
I barely remember that film, and I think I should be the one to write it.
Because
like, you got a buff guy from space?
You're woefully too young to watch that when you watch that. That's probably why.
I wonder whose fault that was.
I mean, honestly, my
You gonna skip over the fact that it was definitely your fault?
I mean, most things that were inappropriate in your youth were 100% my fault. No, I am desperate while we still have the opportunity, because we're losing people right and left. I need Conan the King.
Yeah. Quick.
I need you.
That motherfucker's knees are going.
I need you to wrap up that fucking story for me. I need Arnold on the throne.
That visual
wearing the
alone.
crown on a heavy brow.
Just that visual. You have to go see this flick. If you do not see Godzilla -1, color or no color, if you don't see this flick, you're doing yourself a disservice. I do not know how this movie doesn't stay in the this is now a new measuring stick. Like, this poor fucking Kongzilla movie coming out whatever they did, whatever type of movie they made rather, I hope they lean into whatever they are. If it's goofy, be goofy. If it's just monsters slapping monsters, I hope it's
Oh, he's sick.
I hope it's the
Son of
most
a bitch.
monster slapping monster shit ever, because it needs to be wildly different.
it needs to
Otherwise,
be-
it's gonna be
It
alarmingly.
needs to be crazy over the top.
It would be alarmingly like a downshift at this point. But my final thought: absolute must see, absolute instant classic, deserves the praise it's getting, and I think it's going to be one of those things that it ages incredibly well. When this hits the Netflixes, when it hits the HBO Maxes, I think this is one of those flicks that's going to keep being kind of rediscovered.
Yeah.
And I think this might be the gateway drug for your boy Sean to finally read a movie.
I don't know, man.
He just doesn't read it. He's like, I don't know what happened. That shit looked awesome.
No way. Yeah, no, my final thought, honestly, like it already feels like an old movie. So I think it's one of those things that you can maintain for sure. And kind of keep that momentum going on. But yeah, I do hope that it's a gateway drug into bringing back the flavor for these franchises that was the reason why we liked them to begin with.
Are you ready for a Kong throwback film already?
Mm,
They really haven't figured that out.
they really
Is that just dead in the water? They with 3 at bats now?
no, but you know what's another one that does it? The current Planet of the Apes run is as good or better than the original.
Just fun fact: we were in the movie theater and they showed the new trailer, and I lean over to you and I'm like, I can't believe how great this franchise is considering where it came from. And you thought I was talking all the way back to like the 70s, and you were ready to fight me in the movie theater.
Yeah,
I was talking about fucking Homeboy who got canceled.
I would have been justified too.
I was talking about the modern incarnation of Apes films, because I think that first one's good,
It's fantastic.
but then the next one's great. The next one's better still. Like that's another movie over movie.
Well,
that might be the best ramp up.
more happens though, so it's a little unfair,
Totally,
you know. But yeah, but you can also sit and binge them all.
that's
Just
true.
Have a great hairy day.
The absolute last thing, you know, I know we don't always do it, but since it happened today, Carl Weathers passed away, and
R.I.P.
this is a
Action Jackson will never be the same.
fuck yeah, man. This is a you know, first and foremost, we're a comic book podcast, but we fully dip into all things comic booky, and we have covered on this show a lot of the Rocky films, the Creed films, Mandalorian. I am far more obsessed with this.
You right, Ring?
Nope. I am far more obsessed with this than is healthy. I fully admit that, but I'm one of those people that I'm constantly thinking about, like death and what we leave behind and how we're remembered. It is so rare to know someone is in legendary status before they're gone. Carl Weathers, for decades we've known, this guy is immortal. Apollo Creed, I mean, the most famous gif of all time, him and Arnold fucking flexing while high-fiving.
Chubbs. Fucking Chubbs, baby.
This guy literally had, without question, this guy had 4 or 5 full career runs. Was about to be in the Super Bowl. He's in a Super Bowl teaser commercial for the kick gimmick. I would have felt disrespectful, would have felt wrong to not address a person I've never met having such a wildly positive impact on my life because of his body of work. So rest in peace. Gonna be missed terribly. There's so many movies now that are gonna have that moment of me being just in awe of what we lost, but rest in peace. What a tremendous human by all reports. Everybody in the last couple hours since the news came out, everyone he ever worked with was like literally exactly who you'd want him to be. Yeah. Total gentleman, total great human. Was just at a convention. A lot of my wrestling friends. He was at a convention that had a bunch of wrestlers.
Weird.
I think it was like he was one of those premium items. It was like $350 for his autograph, and everyone who could pay that much was more than happy to, because getting a few minutes of his time. And apparently he was amazing even a week or so ago. But rest in peace. Got the shorts behind us today on the set I'm gonna find a nice spot to keep him close to my heart forever. Carl Weathers absolutely rules. But John, there's only one very dramatic way we end. I don't expect you to go full bore because I do not want you to pass out. But let's get you laying back down. The only one way we end each and every episode of US Comics. We'll be back Wednesday. We're talking a movie about Nerf. We're talking all things Kevin Smith, specifically He-Man's newest season, which absolutely rips. But John, show the nice people the steps we take, because first you got to turn the power on. Then you got to turn the volume up. Then you got to tune Bad Mary and open up the window wide and scream out, "It's the night sky, swim the space girl. We out."